Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, I'll give you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, is it?
Will you have the updated 5-year forecast for me tonight? Or is that being discussed?
I'll talk to you about it.
Perfect.
Oh, she needs this one instead.
Yeah.
She's on technically here.
Okay. All right, roll call. Mr. D'Amelio.
Here.
Mrs. Lewis.
Here.
Mrs. Robinson.
Here.
Mr. Traver.
Here.
And Mr. Trainer.
Here.
You. All right, first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda for this evening's meeting. Any changes or additions?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson.
Yep, you're here. On page 9. Numbers 4 and 5 there. Page 9.
Can I also add a change to this? I don't know if you saw the emails one passed. Julie Russell and Chris Ames, those dates should be effective June 30th instead of May 27th.
June 30th, Bill?
Yes, June 30th instead of May 27th.
Okay.
It doesn't change much of anything except for maybe seniors, how what they thought, but yeah, nothing changes.
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
1 and 2,
Okay,
yes.
Back.
Okay. Page 11. Numbers 5 and 6 are adds, and then at the bottom section, number 12 is, we're deleting that one,
Deleting.
deleting that, yes.
Well,
Okay, on page 12, under field trips, I am adding one there. Would be number 3. FFA, it's called an FFA officer retreat. FFA officer retreat. And it's in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. And that is going to be May 30th through June 2nd. And that's all I got.
Motion to approve?
Second. Mr. D'Amelio. Yes. Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Traver.
yes.
And Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
Next item are the approval of the minutes from the April 19th, 2022 regular meeting and the May 10th board workshop. Draft minutes were sent out for both of those, and there were no changes since the draft minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Traver.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes. All right, we will start with recognition. I would like to recognize the young lady to my right, Chrissy Lewis. Chrissy organized a board training, so we had a public meeting last week where we had one of the state board representatives come up, OSBA representatives come up to train us to be a more effective board, make sure we're all up to speed on the sunshine laws, make sure we're not making any errors unintentionally or intentionally. She was creative and invited multiple districts to attend which brought the cost of doing that down for our district. So we had 4 of our board members there. We had 1 board member from the Put-in Bay School Board, and then we had 2 Woodmore board members. One who's been on for 16 years, he said, and one a newer one. I thought it was very informative. The process was very, very positive. We learned a lot as a board here, but we also got to hear from other school districts that have totally different problems, different issues, some of the same issues and problems, and it was really, really insightful. And to hear how they do things versus how we do things, I just got a lot from it. So I just want to say thank you. I know you took some effort to put that together, and we appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
I think it helps with, you know, the passage of the levy with community involvement and just kind of, you know, listening to what other districts are doing and how we can be, you know, better and communicating what we need to the community. Thanks, Joe.
No, thank you. Mike, did you have any more recognition today?
Nothing specific tonight, no.
Okay.
Can I add something just
Sure.
really quick? On my notes, I was thinking about tonight, I know we have had a laundry list of people retiring and unfortunately leaving to pursue some different career avenues, but definitely since school year is winding down, I should say, I just recognize those that have given so much to our district and hate to lose some of them, but wish them all the best. So.
Yeah, we have quite a few folks moving on, and we will miss them. Thank you. Excellent. So we'll go to input from the administrative staff. Cody, we'll start with you here on the right.
Yeah, just real briefly, some of the things that we highlighted, I talked about a little bit at the last board meeting at our professional learning day. We had some good conversations throughout every building on what PBS will look like next year, about what high-quality student data will entail for next year. Some just really good collaborative conversations there. And we had a conversation a little bit about same goal, which deals with our SPED populace, and Lauren led that, and then Angie helped out with our LBEC, and that's basically renewable licensure and making sure that everyone's up to date on knowledge of what it requires and what it takes to renew license. So it was just a very productive day on the heels of excitement and relief, and it was just an enjoyable day. So we're all very happy on that day. Testing-wise, testing's all done. I just was very appreciative, and it's commendable how well our teachers and our staff ran through testing this year. Very few minor, what I would call more internet glitches here and there, which is expected. But all in all, I thought it was a very fantastic experience for myself, and we're just going to continue to look for ways to improve on that. So Ohio State testing finished up on the 5th. Last week, 3rd through high school math, science, and social study, the results were released, which is atypical. Usually all the results are released like June 30th. And they use a large drop, a big drop.
I'm sorry, what grades were released?
3rd through high school, math, science, and social studies. So 3rd through algebra 1 and geometry, math. And then you have American history and government in high school. And you have 5th, 8th, and biology for science. So those items were dropped, and they did a change of database, data database at the state level, and I can only assume that's why this information was pushed out as quickly as it was. So we're finding some good things with the new system, and we're finding some glitches or just some learning curve with it as well. So this week our teachers have been diving into it. Once all the data is collected, ELA still has not been released. I assume it's because there's a written portion to those. They're releasing 3rd grade first, and then we'll release all of theirs 5 days later. We're pushing out a partial release to our educators to kind of be able to take a look at what has been released, both student information and item analysis, and then we'll also be able to provide for everyone kind of our regional comparison and a state comparison with it as well. I felt like we did pretty well. All in all, we're very happy with our performance in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of our minds being completely on sometimes non-education things. So I was very happy with our performance of our staff and our students, and we just reminded them that this is a snapshot of what our kids can do, and it's one piece of a larger pie of students And we talked a little bit, very briefly, on the difference between achievement and growth when we're looking at data, and how it's not always the same. And we don't want to focus on one percentage point when that doesn't represent the whole person, the whole student. Nor does it reflect the whole educator as well. It's just one point of a larger scale of what we're looking at in education. So overall, very happy with both students and staff, especially in the midst of what we've been experiencing this year.
Do we know how that trends with prior years, or?
Yep,
up,
and
down?
I have a wager looking at today in our administrative meeting. So that will be released. We were debating on, do we wait till the ELA comes out? I just had some text messages from some of our math teachers, they want it, and I understand. So we'll probably do a partial push out this week, and then we'll push out the rest when the ELA comes out. So yeah, there's some longitudinal studies to take a look at. It's tough because there's kind of a 2-year gap, so within that 2 years, we could have had different educators moving in and out, we have completely different kids, and you have COVID, and so there's a lot of different variables to take a look at when looking at those achievement scores. We talked a little bit at the PL. I put more stock in growth scores. I think that, things like STAR data and benchmark scores, when you take a look at where a student starts compared to where the end, I like that better than a finish line that everyone needs to cross. Think of like a race. Well, not everyone's starting at the same point. So let's say I have a kid who only has to run 100 meters, and they finish first, great. But I might have another kid who has to run a mile, and they finish 3 laps faster than 80% of the population, but they didn't finish the whole race. Well, the one's considered the winner, yet the other one showed more growth and did more and really achieved more, but because they didn't reach that finish line first, we give trophy here, and we don't put enough emphasis down here. Yet here is where the growth was made, where we really did a lot of work here. So there's a balance between the two things that we're looking at. And that's why it's not always fair just to throw out achievement score and say, here's the results.
Yeah.
It's a piece of the puzzle. And I'm still pretty overall happy.
So
with the results.
you'll share the study with the board?
Yes. Yep. Very good.
I have a follow-up question though. Angie, how are we looking with our recertification? Are we like on time, on schedule, with everything?
Yeah, we generally are. Bill and I keep in contact with that quite a bit, and right now, I think we only have maybe 4 people that are not renewed, but I'm in the process of doing that.
Okay,
And we'll be done in plenty of time.
perfect. Thank you.
That's good news.
Always.
Kevin?
Just a couple things, end of year activities for students. We have some things coming up later this week, and fire emergency point. We have some activities next week, finish the school year. And then preparation for next year, start working on scheduling our students, and then we spent some time on our last professional learning day, just some, putting like a workshop together, like a student prep workshop. We're going to put our students in groups, probably about 3rd day of school, and just rotate them through, go over some things like Cody said, PBIS and school rules, but some general manners rules and grammar and some things like that that just kind of fall by the wayside. Appropriate use of technology, emails, things like that. Just spruce things up and try to, get students, they're not working when they're in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but I think some skills that they would need in the workforce down the road, and just some proper way of doing things, acknowledging those. That's it.
One thing that I wanted to bring up was, so my son signed, he had the signing today for the Navy. And you can tell that cursive was not a priority for that senior class, for obvious reasons. I mean, I think we've traded cursive for technology, which is needed, right? But if there's anything we could do, maybe in the junior high, where we start just signing our work or something that helps them practice that signature, so when they do get out of here, I mean, it was brutal watching them
Well,
sign.
I'll tell you, we do a lot of
documents.
electronic signatures now too, and it
Yeah.
doesn't help any anyway.
It doesn't, so I didn't know if there's anything simple we could implement maybe at the junior high level.
I had on my list of, I had a lot of things listed, that was one, or even neat, fairly neat penmanship would help, and I'm sure. all the teachers
Yeah,
will
like
know
it-
that.
It was brutal, so,
It's just not a standard.
and it's not, and it really, there's not enough space for it. I mean, with technology, I get it, but like just the act of the signature, maybe we could, it just seems like something we could incorporate. Just everybody sign every work assignment just for the practice of it. So when they leave here, they can sign a check. Or if they're famous, sign an autograph. Just a thought.
No, I hear you, it's frustrating. But we can help too, because my granddaughter, I remember, in kindergarten, got a paper from a teacher and had to write a sentence. And it was on blank paper, I go, well, why couldn't there be lines for it? So
Yeah.
we can help our kids do that.
So, thank you. Amy?
Yes, so the elementary, kind of like what Kevin is saying, this is a list of events, a lot going on towards the end of the school year, it's exciting. This Friday is the big PTO carnival, so everybody come out, 5 to 8, we will be there. Lots of events happening with that, I think we have about 7 food trucks, blow-ups for all the kids, face painting, balloon animals, so it should be a great time. Then on next Tuesday, the 24th, we have the 5th grade wax museum. 4th grade's going to do Shark Tank, and then we have the 5th grade clap out. On Wednesday, we have the 5th grade awards program for 5th graders only. And then Thursday, we have field day and last day of school for the students. So then that takes us to Friday, staff day and teacher checkout. So lots going on, busy, but it's been good.
Field day's normal, parents?
Yes,
Okay, and then carnival is Saturday?
Friday,
Right.
Friday, 5 to 8.
I got in trouble.
The weather's
Saturday,
looking
twins.
good, so.
Are we having the seniors walk through then this year?
Yes, oh yes, seniors walk through this Friday at 10:30.
Awesome.
Amy, do we have any representation going for Claire's Day this Saturday?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I know we have students, but I mean,
Yes, we have several teachers going as well. Yes, we do.
Oh, did
I
the
was trying to
principal?
look and see if there was
Okay.
anything else.
Again, like everybody else, we're winding down, just practical things, working, like Jim talked about, working on the master schedule and trying to get things balanced out, we're going back to a 7-period day next year. Teachers just prefer to have more time in a given period as opposed to more periods in a given day. So we're working with those changes. Just a lot of things going on. We had a car demo today that FFA put on. It was a fundraiser for the Mazda family. And so they were charged $1 to get a swing, a sledgehammer swing on a beater car, and you had to wear glasses and safety goggles, so we were careful along those lines. So even the principal went out there, or superintendent, I'm not sure who, took about half a dozen whacks on the car. So it's but they provided the car and got towed away, got everything cleaned up, and a lot of kids out there. I think they raised. There's still some dust to settle, but so when I checked with Michigan Central News, and they were about $850. And that was just mainly students and maybe a few staff members going out there and
That's awesome.
taking whatever out on that car. So that's it was an older car, so it didn't get beaten up too badly. It took a while. Seniors' last day is Friday. We have the scholarship recognition for our seniors at 9 o'clock on Friday, and then as Amy mentioned, 10:30 is a parade through the elementary. And then we talked briefly, just brief conversation today about also possibly having a parade through the middle school as they come back. And then they will be dismissed early after a brief meeting at the end of the day, or at the end of, after all those festivities are done. So probably around 11:30 they'll be dismissed on Friday, the last day.
I would like to give a plug to our scholarship foundation. Give or take, we're giving over 73 scholarships. So everybody, they pretty much applies getting a scholarship. Actually, everybody that applies getting a scholarship, which is phenomenal. So it's
It's awesome.
generosity of our donors, it's amazing, so, yeah.
Excellent.
Mike, do you have any connection with the new high school principal, incoming principal?
Yes, he was in last week, and at the end of the day, he dropped off some paperwork, and then he and I went over to the high school and just did a little bit of a walkthrough. We're talking about making some movement there with the office setup and things that changed, that were made because of COVID, and we're looking to make some changes. So, yes, I've spoken with him a couple of times, I didn't see him last week.
Are you doing anything like, when he was voted on, it was not the best situation. Are we doing any like welcome or anything where he can come meet the staff before the summer ends? or-
Trying, but he's, his job is he's middle school principal, and
Yeah.
he's tied up every day just about. So I talked to him about that, and it's probably not gonna work out. I may be able to get him in here depending on when their last day is. But I'm not sure that's gonna
Okay.
happen, so
His contract starts July 1st.
August 1st.
Holly?
Just to tie in with some of the high school stuff, we're working on graduation as well. Courtney Cannon and I are the advisors, so we're getting the program ready, talking to everybody. Mike, did you get back to her about the fees and walking and like what we decided on that?
It's standard.
Okay.
It's, the guy that wanna walk, the other fees.
Okay, so just lots of little loose ends that we're tying up. We're trying to do, a little special, photo op thing for them, and so little tiny things, but we're working on it. It's gonna be inside for sure. And yeah, that's it. So, we're getting there. This is my last meeting as union president, so I don't know if you guys knew, some of you knew I resigned several months ago. It's effective now, June 1st, there after we are done negotiating. So, I have been honored to lead a very amazing group of educators, and since 2016, I think, is when I took over as president, so it's been a while. And I love our staff, and I'm sad to see so many of them going, and I'm hoping that, we can work hard to retain the remaining staff members and encourage our new faces to the district, because it is a great place with a great staff, and I would hate to see it change too much more. So beyond that, thank you for working with me as well, and it's been a pleasure. We have restructured the union a little bit. Angie Jimerson is our new president, but it's a little less of a role than I took. I took the job and I went crazy with it, but we've restructured so that every building has a vice president as well, and they will deal with a lot of the day-to-day minutia, and she'll just deal with heavy stuff. So,
Will you have a vice president at the elementary?
yes.
Okay, so there'll be three vice
Three vice
presidents and
presidents.
one. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank
So,
I'll be covering the elementary for part of that because our vice president will be elementary.
you. Okay.
Yes.
so it's gonna be a little easier to manage some of the things that we, come across, and I'm happy to see some new faces step into some leadership roles, and I'm not going anywhere, so I'm still, I kept telling Angie, like, don't worry, I'm still here.
I keep telling her when she's ready to come back.
This has been a rough few years. I just need to step away for a little bit, focus on being a mom again and a classroom teacher. So, but yeah, that's it. So thank you for working with me, and it's been a pleasure.
You're a tremendous leader with the levy, and they
Thanks.
should have recognized you up front, so wonderful job.
I appreciate it.
Leading that through, it was a huge effort.
It was a full-time job.
For sure.
That's the reason I'm going off into the sunset right now.
That and testifying, before state, and just,
Yeah.
thank you for that too, for
Thanks.
being our voice.
I still want to do some state level things. I enjoyed that aspect of the job a lot, so I'll still be involved with our union and with doing things like that, because it's meaningful and impactful. So some day-to-day stuff and over it a little bit. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Andy?
How do I follow that? We're gonna find out. yeah, we're just looking forward to continuing on all the progress that she has made in our behalf, both within our staff and our district, and hopefully in our state as well, and continue to support her in whatever she wants to do and she wants to help us out with. And look forward to many new faces and a rebuilding year and working from there. So it'll be a busy year.
Thank you. Thanks for doing it too. So we'll go to input from the public. If anybody has anything? Anything online? Okay.
I do want to point out really quick, Marisha's here, and she is the new OC president.
Oh, sorry.
She will be working with,
Welcome.
she will be working with Dave through negotiations, and then once that's over, he's.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You will be on the, we'll call it
I hope I'm prepared.
I think we posted the new bus drivers' jobs? Did we post those, the three?
No, they had not posted.
Okay.
They will be shortly.
Good. All right. So your membership is good there. Yeah, please.
Yes, yes.
Okay, actual compared to budget for the month of April, financial activity. In the revenue section, the other line was negative for this month. I talked about this before, that our excess cost revenue, I don't budget it any one month. Majority of that came in last month. So it's just kind of adjusting for this month, and it will probably continue to be unfavorable. However, if you look at the year-to-date, it's very favorable right now. It will come back down closer to budget once we get closer to the end of the year. Foundation, I've talked to you about that also. That continues to be unfavorable as the state continues to take money back because they had errors, overpaid us. I'll talk a little bit further about that line item when we talk about the 5-year forecast. So that $396,000 favorable will not continue. That will continue to be closer to budget. Where it ends by the end of this fiscal year is a question mark, because there's potential of a true up that will go into next fiscal year. So with the revenue section, if you look at year-to-date, the real estate tax line is favorable. That will remain that way. The other line, it's favorable now. It should remain favorable, just not as large. And the same holds true with the foundation line. It will more than likely remain favorable, just not as large. The $676,000 will come closer to budget by the time we get to the end. In the expenditure section for the year, or for the month, there really wasn't too much to talk about. Fringe benefits leads the way, once again, favorable. That is primarily because of health insurance. We had I talked about that previously, that we had a good review of insurance. Instead of 12%, we had a 2% increase this year. So that's leading that line item.
You said that it's trending towards 12% again this year from what you're doing.
Yeah, we have a meeting tomorrow. I'll let you know. I looked at the financials. We did not have a good April for our insurance. It was actually our worst month of the year. So that trend may have gone back the other way for this month because of April. But still, we have a couple, 2-3 months to make that up.
Is that our specific trend, like our utilization?
It's our trend for the consortium.
Okay.
It's all together. So yeah, it was, like I said, our biggest claim month for medical this year, unfortunately. So, but hopefully, we had 2 of the best months before that. So things can adjust back. So yeah, that's what's driving that fringe benefits line, is the insurance. Other than that, you look at every other line item, at least monthly, even year to date, things are pretty close to budget for expenditure line items. A little over 216,000 to the good. Cash balance, like I said, it's almost 900,000, but it's not gonna stay anywhere close to that. I looked down at the bottom in the red. I said that our deficit spending this year would be about 359,000. It's trending towards 273,000, and when I talk about the 5-year forecast, I even extrapolated it out further for the year. It's even going to get a little bit better than that, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think we're still going to deficit spend, but I think the deficit spending is going to be a little bit less. Any questions on the month of April or year-to-date for fiscal year 22? Okay, I'll segue right into the first item, which is the 5-year forecast. Every May and November, I need to submit this to the state for an update. This is an abbreviated version. The state version is a little bit different. There's multiple other line items that kind of get things a little bit more confusing, so I use this abbreviated line item. It has everything that we need on it. I provided you, I'm not going to go line by line like I did last night at the finance meeting. I did give you a sheet of notable items for the 5-year forecast. I'm going to go over a couple of them. One of them, we all know that we were able to have success at the last ballot issue. Our levy did pass. When you look at the forecast, a portion of that will hit in fiscal year 23. We're in fiscal year 22 right now. A portion of that will hit in fiscal year 23, 55% of what we'll get. And then we'll get the full votes starting in fiscal year 24. So if you look down at the bottom of the forecast, we do have an opportunity next year to not deficit spend, but there is a potential to go back to deficit spending after that. It's going to keep what we have for our cash balance kind of in line. I know Jeff and I we talked at finance last night about, well, fiscal year 25 and 26 don't look very good after passing the levy. Everything is a forecast. Things can change. Things usually do change. Usually do change for a little bit of the better. Just like this fiscal year, I had almost 400,000 in deficit spending. I have it in the 5-year forecast as just over 166,000. So things have a tendency to improve. Once again, I'm not going to claim that that's going to happen, but it's likely. So things will, especially for those last 2 years that, I don't even know the state biennial budget, nor does the state right now, and trying to figure out a 5-year forecast out 5 years is, it's kind of tough. So, like I said, that was one of the things I want to talk to you about, is the real estate tax line. State foundation, I did talk to you about that. It's still, I hate to say it, it's a mess, just because the state erred in calculation. And I don't know how if they'll finalize all the adjustments by the end of this fiscal year, but historically they do not. They usually go into the next year with what they call true-ups, and they adjust things that need recalculated, adjusted into the next fiscal year. So we may have fiscal year 22 and 23 looking a little bit weird just because of that. I don't know exactly. If I was a betting man, I would say that yeah, it's going to continue, that we're going to have that true up, and we're going to have 2 years that are going to just kind of wonky because of the calculation.
Can you explain too the funds that were moved into this that we were getting today?
Yeah,
it's moved over because it will inflate that line, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. It is,
but not actually change the amount of money we're receiving.
correct. About 200, a little over 200,000 of wellness funds that were used to be in a Fund 467, state funding, now is initiated and put into the general fund, this 5-year forecast. It used to be outside the fund. They did that, up into the state support line. They put positive open enrollment, that used to be in the other line. Negative open enrollment, which used to be down in the expenditures of the purchase services. And also, there was one other, the cost of charter schools and all that, that used to be down in the purchase services line, is now up in the state support line. So that's why you're seeing, if you try to compare fiscal year '21 to fiscal year '22, you're looking at state support and you're saying, man, we got $600,000 more. Well, that's not correct, because there's movement here, there, and everywhere. If you combine them all, like I said, first and foremost, we were supposed to get $85,000 more for the biennial budget. I do believe it's going to be more than that because of our open enrollment. Year over year, and I have this on the notables, year over year, we continue to increase with our open enrollment. So that's going to have an effect on that line item. I'm conservative in nature. I left the numbers as they were because I really, like I said, don't exactly know what's going to happen, how the state's going to handle this. So that line item, I'm just going to tell you, it's going to change. It's going to change. I'm more than likely going to come back with another version unofficially by the end of the year, once fiscal year '22 is done, and give you that one. And then November will come the next 5-year forecast to show you. It's not a lot of materiality to it, but it is going to be a change to that line item for state support once we get things figured out. Casino revenue's back to normalcy, so that's coming in as we used to have it, not that much money, less than 100,000. Investment earnings still historically low. So we're, you know, at the height we used to get 150, 175,000. We're getting 30,000, 40,000.
Or we can have our CDs, is what you're saying.
On CDs, on our liquid accounts and so forth. Yeah. So, and I've talked about the positive open enrollment, health insurance, purchase services, special ed costs. You've heard me talk about those before. We are actually about 56,000 ahead of last year's cost, year over year. We are at 1.1, just over 1.1 million last year. We're at 1.15 this year, so about 56,000 more. We're likely to hit over the 1.5 million mark on special ed costs this year. Whereas, as you may remember with our informationals, back in 2014-15, it was about 700, a little over 700,000. So it's more than doubled in the last 7-ish years. And there's a trend that it continues. I don't think I would love to see it plateau, but I think the trend's slowing. Used to, I mean, I had years that, you know, it went over 6 figures increasing year over year. I think we're slowing.
What's driving it? You know? Is it?
Kids, I
I
mean,
mean, I'm sure COVID didn't help.
we have multiple kids going to the MH units, the multiple handicap units, the ED units, the MD units. There's a thing called catastrophic costs. If you have students that are costed to the district, and I think the magic number is like 27,500, unless it's a multiple disability, then it's like 32,000. If you spend more than that, you can actually get money back from the state, and you have to submit for that. There's been years earlier that I didn't submit anything because we didn't have anybody. 2 years ago, we had 2. 1 year ago, we had 3. This year, I just submitted 11 that are over that threshold that I'm able to, and you get 25 cents on the dollar.
But so that means we're spending over 27,000 per child for 11 child.
Per child, yeah. We're getting some money back from the state for that because each special ed category does receive additional funding. doesn't come close to what it takes to, the cost. And then on top of that, when they're called catastrophic, you're able to submit and, if they're over $10,000 over that limit, you might get $2,000 to offset some of the costs. It doesn't offset everything, but you do get some. And that's, like I said, it continues to increase the
There's
students.
huge jumps in kids using.
And I would imagine that's only gonna get worse.
Well, one of the things that's gonna cause that too is the new dyslexia law that has been passed, and they finally gotten their handbook together and direction in terms of how this has to play out. But we could end up with more kids on IEPs through that whole testing process. And they may not be on an IEP for a long period of time, maybe temporary, but, once they're there, they could have kids on there for a long period of time, and that's gonna drive that cost up.
So the forecast, like I said, short term, we're on solid footing. Long term, we talked a little bit at finance last night. We have some work to do, to see what we can do long term. I don't believe that there's, the reality is to wait for the state, or we'll be waiting forever. So we have to take things into our own hands if we can and how we can. There's gonna have to be some interesting conversations, thinking out of the box, and so forth, going forward. But yeah, short term, we don't look too bad. Long term, I'll be honest with you, fiscal year 27-ish, 26-ish, you're probably gonna have to have whispers of another potential levy. 5 or 6 years from now, I'm just being honest. Just to let you know where we're at, if things don't change to where they are today.
From the state level.
From the state level, we aren't spending our money frivolously here at the district, but we need help. We need assistance, and right now, unfortunately, that assistance comes from the local. And that's the bad thing about it all. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, you can read over the notables at some point. If you have questions afterwards, let me know.
I will just add that our mayor, township, and town council, I believe, are the most proactive I've seen since I've been in the district. And I think it really started with Kenny Pryor, really driving development and telling the county, the state, we're open. We want to invite business in. And that's really probably the best potential solve we have, is some additional growth, additional businesses coming in. That would go much further than almost anything else we can do.
Correct. That is aside from the state, that local infrastructure will be.
Yeah, and they've made some really smart decisions with grants to tear down, like the grain silo, to open up development there. They've got some grants on the sewage upgrades and water upgrades, and then they got some money that they were gonna have to raise costs for the town, for water and that. They're not going to now because of the grants they were able to put in. So they're very proactive, and it's good to see.
I have a non-related final question. House Bill 126, is that going to affect us much at all?
We don't, in my time here, we've done maybe 2 or 3 revaluation challenges.
Yeah.
That was like, I think we've done writing a couple times, we just did,
Chippewa.
Yeah, Chippewa. We only do commercial, and there's really not a ton here. But still, that's items we're not gonna probably be able to do,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Now, will it hurt us as much as Port Clinton, Danbury, and all them? No.
Okay.
So who's with that passed, whose duty is it to ensure the assessments are correct?
You're almost at the whim of the county now.
So I just
County
think-
auditor, county prosecutor.
Okay, so it's on there, but we have no
Well,
recourse at all.
not necessarily, originally, not really, no. You would hope that when there's a reval, you know, if a house is sold for way less, when that revaluation comes up, the county will say, oh, gee, it should be here and not here, and then they'll bring it up. And the state kind of requires the counties to do this. They have to be within a certain percentage of where the state thinks they should be, or they have to recalculate and so forth. It's a little bit of a complicated situation. And to be quite honest with you, I've only dabbled in like 3 or 4 of these, so I don't know what, Danbury and all of them go through all this, but yeah, it's gonna be a little bit, unfortunately. It took an opportunity away from the school. Any other questions about the 5-year forecast? Any comments, concerns?
I just think we talked about it last night, we need to stay conservative. We want to stretch this levy as far as humanly possible. We need to continue to stay a conservative district, and that may mean some decisions of not doing things we love to do on the growth side, but I think we just have to be disciplined as a board and really when we decide to add spending, that it's going to drive that. So drive that mission statement. So, I would say to the staff, if you're coming to the board asking for additional spending, just let us know how it affects that. That would be the big piece there. So, and I'm talking about, this isn't like we're going to negotiate, this isn't raises, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about new programs, that kind of stuff, where we're making a decision that add to the district. It was in our workshop, like, if it doesn't come here, this is what we say we are. You want to know how does it affect that, so. That makes sense.
Okay, if there's any other comments, questions, I just need a motion for approval. I will submit an official forecast to the state along with assumptions. I didn't find out. As you repeat?
Yep.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Routzen.
Yes.
Mr. Traver.
Yes.
And Mr. Trini.
Yes.
All right, next item on the agenda for potential approval are the student fees for the 2022-2023 school year. The items in red are changes. So basically, we're looking to adjust food service costs. We looked at other districts and where we were, and also our costs primarily. And we have not made a food service increase in a few years, so we are going to go ahead and adjust lunch prices. Milk will still stay the same. For classes, the only classes that are changing are Spanish 1, 2, non-Spanish 2. Each, is it every third year? Every second year? Every other year?
Every two is when they have the
They have a concert,
This is the
they charge 25 every other year, basically. They're not having, this is an off-concert year, so it's a $10 fee.
So red is the new
Yeah,
Red is
red
the
is
new.
new.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, why was the food service fees going up? Just costs?
Costs have actually skyrocketed,
Yeah.
so that's.
And you have to remember that we've been funded by the state for lunches and stuff, right?
For
So
the
we
last
haven't,
couple of years.
yeah, so there's been no cost at all. And as someone who owns a business where you have to buy food, I'm telling you that this is an appropriate increase, and it's an appropriate increase from experience.
Right now, as it stands, you know, last 2 years, the state has paid for, the Fed and state has paid for lunches. That's why it's been free for the last
Yeah.
couple of years, lunches and breakfast. As it stands right now, that's ended.
Yes.
And there is some legislation that could change that, but that's not, they're not in a hurry at this point. So, unless that happens, we are back to only getting paid for what, you know, for the kids that qualify for reduced, and so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had 270,
273.
273 that are on free and 21 that are on reduced at this time. So we'll encourage everyone to fill that out
Yeah.
next year, coming in.
I have a question about pay to participate. So later we're gonna talk about mandating all fees be paid when they participate in an activity. Would it make sense to couple that with a decrease in pay to participate? So like the second sport would be $50 and cap it at 200. That way we're increasing our collection efforts, but then we're also compromising on the cost to participate.
Yeah, so we're about 140,000, is that the number you said?
That's overall fees.
Uncollected,
Yeah, I'm correct.
144.
143 was the last, I mean, I'm sure it might.
So what you're saying is reduce the fee, collect more of it, and we're probably in the same spot.
Yeah, and I think that's a win. That's how you sell the, all fees are due when you participate in an
I
activity.
will say that the pay-to-play fees are not an issue at all.
That's
There's
not an issue.
maybe 2 people or 3 students out right now from the entire year that have not paid. So even decreasing those, I don't think that's gonna change the.
Well, what I'm saying is to participate in an activity, you
No, I
have
know.
to pay all fees.
Yeah, no, I understand that. What I'm saying is on the pay.
So I don't know that we have any numbers on, so an athlete or someone participating in an activity will pay the,
Pay to play, but
pay the
not
play fee,
the-
but not pay the other fees.
No, I agree with you. For me, what I would need to see is I would need to see the breakdown of what the pay-to-play fees, how that's being spent, how that's being allocated, and what we're losing by reducing that fee, and what's gonna have to come from another fund in order to pay for the things that the pay to participate is
Yeah,
not
'cause
asking for.
does that go directly into the athletic budget, the pay to play?
Well, it goes to all the co-curriculars that are in the general fund
Yeah.
that pay for the athletics.
It's all lumpy.
So you might get, so what you're saying is we might collect more money, but that,
But then it cuts
they
into
depend
what
on
we
that
use to
side.
pay that stuff
Drop
out.
that one down.
And I'm
Should
not
get
saying that
those.
it can't be done, I'm saying I would personally need to see how all that's
Breakdown.
allocated, and if, in order for me to make an educated decision on if that's a move we should make or not.
Yeah, and we can vote on this and then,
Well, I put, yeah, you can vote on this, you can come back and do a board resolution next month and change pay to participate to whatever you want. So
Yeah.
it's not like this is set in stone,
Yeah.
if you would pay, if you approve it.
I think it's important though to encourage participation in activities, whether it's band, whether it's any sport. We have some sports where we're having a hard time filling rosters. You know, the middle school girls didn't do that well in the track, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, playing that second and third sport, if we can
Yeah.
encourage that, that's something that we want to
Yeah,
do.
I agree.
So my thinking was the compromise was to mandate that all fees are paid when they participate, but then maybe lower the second fee for the second sport. And consider that a wash. I mean,
so
without,
like sport 2 would be $50, sport 3 would be $50.
And we have to be careful about that though, because now we're showing favoritism to athletes.
it's just one measure, I mean.
On,
Is it all co-curricular, or is that just, that is
Well,
just an
it's the-
athletic
it's-
team?
It's, man, I
The
mean,
band activity has their own fee.
Yeah, but that's cheaper anyway, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah, band's only $23, choir 17. Is that class fee or is that?
That's a class fee.
What's the
band
marching band?
activity fees on the right side at 40. It's still less.
It's still less, yeah.
And the two issues don't have to be bundled. It's just a discussion.
Yeah.
And I would guess that we're well over 60% of our student athletes, or students are participating in an activity.
Yeah, I think
Right.
it was
So
over
that,
300.
I'm not sure I agree with that argument.
Well, it's just, like you said, it's still no perception, you know, and that's, we still have to deal with that, so,
I mean, we're trying to help, you know,
yeah.
the majority, and it's a good measure. I don't,
So what would be what's the yearly intake of fees?
Fees themselves,
Yeah.
without credit papers, about 100,000.
100,000 for fees and participate is,
Give or take 50,000.
so you got 150,000 total. So we're basically sitting on almost 1 year's worth at all times of unpaid.
It's been, like, we talked a little bit about this, I think it's, over the years, it's slowly
Yeah.
creeping up.
yeah. And I do know that, I believe Eastwood and Lake also have a policy where all fees are going to be paid to participate.
Correct.
Yeah, and we changed we added teeth to our pay to play last year, right, or year before, I can't remember when we did that. So, and that's cleaned it up. I mean, we are.
She said, I mean, this 145,000 that's outstanding, I bet less than 5,000 of it, if that, is paid
It's
to
paid.
display.
So that got
And
cleaned up.
those are probably older ones that,
You put teeth in it, they got cleaned up. Somebody who's not
For the most
playing
part.
sports anymore. they're not gonna pay that.
So, okay, so I'm thinking, hearing you right, you were wanting to reduce rates to show, like, explain to me how you want to do this, because if you're on a free or reduced lunch, you're already getting
Yeah.
the reduced fees anyways. So my thought process is, you know, knowing how, with my own children, you know, I paid AAU and spent a lot of money in doing these sports, so I feel like, why go a little lower on that? If they have financial hardship, then they can apply and get that. But I will say, I would like to see what our neighboring districts' requirements are to get that paid before they participate, because I feel like we are a little lax on that. But I don't
Well,
know
yeah, I
if
don't
agree.
think we are in the athletic department.
Yeah, athletic
anymore.
side's
That's
not in.
cleaned
No,
up.
but the other stuff, I mean, how many seniors, I mean, how much outstanding money do we have waiting?
It wasn't,
Now it's down to about, well, it's been about, since you sent letters out, there have been a bunch that have come in, so we're probably down to about 12,000, but it's still.
Okay. So we have seniors graduating here in 2 weeks? It's still $12,000.
I know that all these athletic events and participation are expensive, and then some of the coaches on top of that, you know, have gear packages that they say is optional.
yeah,
Yeah, it's not, because you'll be the only kid without
Yeah.
a shirt. And, you know, through Rustling, we have a nonprofit organization, and we try to supplement that, and we do, we raise a lot of money. It's a lot of work. So I think if we can balance that, you know, make the entry to participate, you know, affordable, I think it'll also increase the participation in athletics. And it's a small-
who's on the athletic? You two? Could we, maybe you guys could, at the next athletic committee meeting, talk about how do we control what Don just talked about on those gear packages? How do we put guidelines around those so we don't?
I don't know if you can, I mean, like, I've seen our coach go crazy with it, and you know, through our club, I had to kind of counteract it. They go to Rocket Shop and get these great ideas, and they have this handout, and, you know.
I think they've become a little bit more lax when it comes to not having a team shoe and things like that. But I see where you're coming from. But I also know that our boosters are really helpful with
Yeah.
families that
Yeah.
are not able to pay for that type of stuff.
Well, I think part of it, I think we're getting down the weeds here, but our coaches need to do more, and some do a great job, there's a few that do a great job, some need to do more fundraising. You know, their fundraising effort can't be called 1-800-GENOA.
Yeah.
Okay, there has to be more effort, a concerted effort to put together a good fundraiser, that draws that money, so the kids, and I agree, the kids shouldn't be paying.
I
For those-
look at the soccer club, holy cow.
Oh, they
They're
got it.
raising, they work their butts off on a weekend in the summer, they have a huge tournament, and they are self-funding
Yeah.
some amazing stuff. And that isn't going to our community, which is great, because that's all being funded from people coming in
Yeah.
from outside our community.
Yes.
Spending money.
Spending money here.
It's great. So, yeah, and maybe it's not, I think, let's not go policy, but maybe just that conversation of,
I agree.
you need to think about the single mother, the working parents, and would that be hard to purchase on a teacher's salary? Because if it's hard to purchase on a teacher's salary, it's gonna be hard for other people to purchase it as well. So, are we comfortable voting on this? So we need to vote on this, correct?
Yes,
We're voting on this, and then we can research more, and if we want to come back and revisit the,
Sounds good.
I think we should revisit it next month too, but yes.
yeah, we can revisit next month, but I think we want to get this out. Yeah, motion?
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Travers,
Yes.
and Mr. Trimmer.
Yes.
All right, the next item, back in 2000, I believe it was 2010, the state put in place that you could not charge fees to free lunch recipients. Back in 2010, the board wanted to do something for reduced lunch recipients, so they cut all fees in half. So your base fee is $50, and the elective fees are 50% off the cost and so forth. Just like Jeff said earlier, this really pertains or affects, right now, 21 students. We only have 21 students on reduced. We have, closing in on 275 on free. But I just asked that if we could keep this as one of our board resolutions that we do every year to provide this relief to reduce lunch recipients.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Travers,
Yes.
and Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
All right, next item is our annual Northern Ohio Educational Computer Association, which is known as NOECA. What this does, it provides us our student information system, our financial package system, a plethora of other things, basically technologically that we utilize throughout the district. And we also get support from them for our systems also. We've used NOECA since I've been here as our A site. This contract total is a 4% increase over last year, which is, I look back, that's not out of the ordinary. So I don't know if you have any questions on.
Are they 4% year over year?
Yeah, year over year. Which, like I said, is not out of the ordinary amount of increase.
And we did discuss last night that part of that is, a large part of that's the cyber liability.
Well, we're on the new action one.
Oh, that's different, that's not there.
We'll talk about that one later, but, yeah. So basically, yeah, this is what we get support. I don't know if you have any.
Do we quote this out? Is there something else we can do, or we can be the only guy in town?
No, there are 27 IT or TA sites in the state.
Okay.
We could go to others, closest one would be Archibald or Lyon. We've been with Sandusky since I've been here, so probably prior to me as well, but, you're gonna get, I would say if we went to Archbold, it would be a whole new ballgame because they have a different, student information system. They do power schools, so I would look to Lima, if you wanna get another quote, but I'm satisfied with the support and the service we get with Malacca.
In looking for another carrier, does that involve any other cost to us besides just this kind of, like, if they use a different program, are we talking about cost to the district, because now we have to go for, like, it wouldn't just be something like this.
Train or,
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying, like it would be an additional?
It depends. We would just have to ask that question together. Most of the A-sides are pretty standard, and they offer the same packages, to all of the districts throughout Ohio.
Okay.
So it's the closest one to Genoa, that's what we've been using. You go over a couple of districts over and they're in Archbold, so, if we want to look around, we certainly can ask those questions to other districts and what they.
Tom, it doesn't matter if, how close the place is.
It doesn't. It doesn't. We could go to Columbus, we could go anywhere.
A little bit of training.
Well, the training,
I mean,
secretaries have to go for training.
Oh, that's what I was asking, so you
Yeah.
physically visit the sites?
Yeah, they and with today's technology, they don't have to go, they can do it online.
They have virtual
Everybody's ready
offers?
to go back to some live training, but, it doesn't have to be the closest one to us.
But they offer a mix of virtual and on-site?
Correct.
Okay.
They do all of the scheduling, for our students, and so they support all of that. As well as our internet, as well as, I think you mentioned cybersecurity, and then the fiscal side of the house. We don't utilize their library services, they have that as well, but we don't use that anymore.
Is that our e-lister code too?
Correct. So to,
Would that be an issue then, since we share like EMIS coordinator with Woodmore and their NOACA as well?
only if we went to a site that did not support progress book, basically, yeah. I think there's less than 5 A sites that don't have progress book.
when is this due?
Well, because it's scheduling and all that, soon.
Yeah, we can't change.
I don't,
We-
I
we would-
would, I
we
would
would
not
be
feel
able to-
comfortable changing this right now, just the
You
scheduling.
could
So,
look for
yeah,
that.
Could we just get a competitive quote for next year then? So I think, and it might just answer the question.
I personally don't think you're gonna see
It's all,
too much difference.
Is it like a cable company where you say, I'm thinking about leaving and they cut your break?
I'd have done that 10 years ago. But no, like I said, I think they're all,
yeah, they're all under MCOCEN.
yeah, they're kind of regulated.
They're regulated.
It's not like it's, one can be,
So I would say motion to approve, but if we could get a competitive quote for next year.
no problem.
Second?
Mr. D'Amelio,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Travers, and Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
Last item for board consideration is our Southwestern Ohio Educational Purchasing Council. This is our property, fleet, and liability insurance program. This is basically insurance for our buildings, insurance for our buses, insurance for this, that, and the other thing, site reliability, and so forth. This is a little over an 8% increase. We've been with Southwestern for a while now. I did go out to bid. It's been a few years, probably not 10, but it hasn't been 3 or 4. It's probably been 5 or 6 years. This consortium, I think there's 54 districts in this consortium. And previously to this year, this is an 8% increase. We had like a 4 last year. Prior to that, we actually had years that we were in negative. So it's been a pretty good program throughout. We are hitting a snag this year, but with everything else that's going up, this is going up 8%. You can kind of look in the middle, the cyber liability identity theft is one of the items that is going up not quite double, not that it's one of the primary items, but that's one that I wanted to point out, that's out there. So, any questions on our coverage?
If you,
This is
you're gonna get us the number on the cybersecurity, what our coverage is.
you're talking about whether we do, the
Ransomware,
threat.
yeah.
I didn't get an answer on, what we're covered with ransomware, but I did talk to Tom about the threat and so forth, threat and.
Penetration testing and stuff.
NOAA does that, and we are actually on
Yeah, we
a
have
list of work to do that.
Usually pay extra.
fishing experience, don't tell that. Yeah, they do try to fish our staff.
Good,
Yeah.
good, okay.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's important,
Yeah.
like, and I was saying at
And
finance last night, if we're not doing that, we should be doing it.
Absolutely. And I wanna say with this, our staff is phenomenally questionable about any email that comes in. They immediately send it to me and I appreciate that. If they think it's not right, they always are scrutinizing everything.
Especially if it's from a Saudi prince.
For gift
Walmart.
cards.
Yeah, if you go buy me $500 and I phone gift card.
So you need a motion for that?
Yeah,
So moved.
if you have any other questions.
Second.
Mr. Emilio,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis, Mrs. Rousey,
Yes.
Mr. Travers,
Yes.
and Mr. Green.
Yes.
I just have one item for discussion. We do have the fuel depot up and running out here. We have diesel and gas. We do it with Shoemaker. They actually bring the fuel to us. The difference in cost for our gas has been an average of about 25 cents per gallon. And the difference in diesel is about 50 cents per gallon.
Pretty awesome.
So that's what we're starting to save now.
And the
It costs
payoff,
us,
what's the payoff?
payoff, I'd say it's gonna be between 5 to 6 years. So, yeah. It's a good move, I think.
Yeah.
What's that?
Diesel's at an all-time high, so the payoff's probably gonna be extended.
So, just wanted to let you know that that's up and running, it's been up and running for 2-3 weeks now. So. That's it.
Okay.
Can I have 2 minutes? Just restroom break. Sorry. Drink too much.
All right, on page 9, need the board to approve those resignations as listed. Those first 3 there, just as was kind of mentioned earlier, just again, thankful for the time they did spend in the district and for the services they did render.
Are we doing any exit interviews?
Other than my conversations, my informal conversations with the ones at the high school. Well, I would say that every principal has talked to anybody that's leaving, you know, in terms of those things.
I think it might be good to have an exit survey, just to capture, you know, I think some are just simply, I know one is going to get a new position that doesn't exist here and it's a promotion, and that's great, but I would like to capture why people are leaving.
First 3?
You can do them all. Do them all, I was just citing them.
Okay.
Citing the first 3.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Routson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
And Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
On page 10, I need the board to approve all those as listed from top to bottom there.
Are we gonna do the number 1?
You mean
by
number
itself?
1,
Oh,
need to
that's
separate
right,
them.
pull it out for somebody.
number 1 only?
One of them.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Routson.
Abstain.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
And Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
Okay, now I need the board to consider numbers 1 through 7 there on the bottom.
I have a quick, real quick question though. Do we have, I know we had one applicant, what about the girls' golf coach? Anything yet on
We
that?
just interviewed one of them yesterday
Okay.
with Matt, and we have another one, I believe, tomorrow.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry, Dean. I'll second it.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Routson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And page 11, need the board to approve numbers 1 through 6 there, just a brief, Cody's duties are going to expand, and you and I had a conversation about the title of his job and needing some authority to go along with the job that he does and the work that he does. We've expanded his duties and also going to give him some of the authority that he needs to get the job done, so to speak. So that's the change in title, but we had transportation duties to him and public communication as part of his duties.
So he'll be director of curriculum, instruction, testing, transportation, public communication.
Yes.
You need to do that right.
And then,
But we appreciate you taking on all those roles.
And
And otherwise,
I think it too, I just want to point out, so from our last meeting, we heard how much Kevin was doing outside of the middle school principal's job, and I think this is a reaction and the right move, you know, on the administrative side, that you guys are seeing that and responding to that. So this should free him up not to leave the building, to be able to stay focused in the school and not be pulled in multi-directions. So I think this is wise.
Agreed.
and then number 6 there, Amy is stepping down as elementary assistant, and she will move into the classroom.
No.
yeah.
Okay, so, and I think, actually, you might all be able to,
We could do 1 through 6 and 1 through 16,
yeah,
and then do
Or
17 and 18.
okay.
All right.
One
Motion
through
to
6.
approve 1 through 6 and 1 through 16.
With the exception of number 12.
12.
Right.
Second.
Okay, so Keith motion?
And Jeff, second.
Yep.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Routson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
And Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And then the board to approve 17 and 18.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio. Abstain. Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
And Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
Then I need the board to approve on page 12, both professional meetings and field trips there.
Can we just get these like a little bit earlier than what we're getting these? I mean, I know that obviously we will approve them, but.
Well, it just, yes, I mean, that might be possible, but sometimes
Right.
it,
It's a matter of
the
timing.
opportunity, what's that?
It's a matter of timing. Sometimes we get it like 2 weeks before we're told about it.
So it's not,
When possible.
when possible, absolutely.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And we go to page 14. I need the board to approve those level 1 and 2 volunteers there. Just trying to see if there's anybody has to abstain, or it doesn't look like it, unless you're related to somebody that I don't know.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
And number 2 there, board to approve open enrollment as listed in the handout.
I have a quick question. Where's our number there for kindergarten and now that we have these numbers for the new kindergarten? Offhand?
You know what, I think
We should be at 90.
was it 94?
90, no, oh yes, no, that should be 91.
91?
We had 84 registered, and then we had 7 open
We'll
enrollments.
probably have some like.
We typically get some over the summer.
We should have anywhere from 8 to 12 more, we're solid.
Okay.
And open enrollment cutoff date is,
Well, and here's what, we can have a quick discussion about this if you want, but, so, there's nothing in policy as far as a date in policy. There's not a date for.
there is just on the sign.
Just on the sign-up sheet, and that sign-up sheet, that date on the sign-up sheet helps Rhonda with getting the renewals done. That's important for getting renewals, so they don't drag out. I think the date that works best is August 1st. We still have plenty of time to get somebody enrolled, we have a better picture of numbers at that point in time, and people filter in. I mean, I got a call on my phone today from someone who wants to come from Whitmore, whose 2 parents are both Genoa grads. And those things don't always happen in the package, like by April 16th or whatever the case may be. They happen as we go along in the spring and into the summer. Situations change. There's a lot of times there's custody swings, and so there's just a lot of variables there. So I think we can set a reasonable hard date of August 1st, and we'll allow for those cases that trickle in. Still have to keep an eye on the numbers. That's still.
I just know we've gotten them later than that.
I have in the past, I have taken those in the past, but they're few. There's not a huge number of those that come in, but.
Most of the ones we get past that typically are, I'm moving out of the district and I'm just staying.
There are some of those as well, yes. And we get
So
those.
I'm already at school, I'm leaving the district. I want to make sure that we're not putting burden on the building administrators with last minute schedules, those things.
Well, and that's why I think August 1st is a fair date, but as long as we're keeping track of the numbers, and I already know what those numbers are, and those grades that while the numbers might be high, there might be a high level of student IEPs, so I'm keeping track of that. I had to turn 3 away the other day because one of them was going to go into one of the larger classes.
I agree, I don't know that we want to back ourselves in the corner on this. I know that some families have agonized over moving, and it's not an easy decision to change districts.
Yeah, and we've been a student in district where I think our policy on the board since I've been on is if they're here,
Yes.
they're here. So we're not turn any, once they're in the district, we would allow them
Yeah,
to stay in the
right,
district.
right, right.
And if
Talk
they
about
have
what you do, yeah,
if they have a sibling in the district, they're always welcome to it.
understand.
Depending on class size, you may tell them something new in that room.
Right, so class size, and the other one is special ed,
Well,
Not that they're on special ed,
is
but our-
caseload,
our caseload.
our
Not-
caseloads, you know,
So
that's.
it's not
that's
You can't decide based on whether you are special ed or not, but if we have too many caseload, then we can cut it then.
Right. We can deny that based on those caseloads, just like the class sizes.
Thank
Like
you.
our fourth grade class for next year, starting with 103 students, so those are high numbers for fourth grade with only
Four
four,
sections.
four sections.
Yep.
So those teachers are gonna start like 26.
And it's
As
a
a class,
it's a high spend load too.
It is, yep.
So-
And our kindergarten is 93, Chrissy, and we have 2 retention.
Didn't we add third grade?
We did.
But that's gonna
Yeah.
change, for next year.
So third grade has how many
So
cases
third grade
now?
next year will have 4 sections, 86 students.
What does it have now? 5?
No, right now it'd have that 103 that's going to fourth grade.
Right, but how many sections
Oh,
are
I'm
this year?
sorry, yes, 5.
So
Yep.
can't we just take a teacher up with not add a teacher, but have a teacher rotate? And
Well, the setup's different, when we get to 4 and 5 now, we're not
We're
self-contained, we're not
departmentalized,
self-contained, they're,
So it changes.
they're changing.
Switching classes.
And I hate to say that, third
Teaching
grade
certification.
MT is also come on.
Right.
Yeah.
Earlier in the month, I have a choice between a fourth grade class of 100 or a first grade class of 100. I can put a fifth teacher in, I'm gonna go low if I can.
And teaching certifications change also, so it's not like the same teacher could
Right.
move.
No,
Yeah,
I think we only have
so
one
you
that
told
can
me
move
all
up.
that stuff.
yeah, we do only have, right.
What's that?
We only
We only have one current third grade teacher that can even move out of third grade. They're all P3
Yeah, yeah,
certifications.
Okay, thank you. So should we, when we hire, should we be looking at that on our next teachers that make sure that we have
We
flexibility?
did that with SPED last year, when we hired a new intervention specialist, that we kind of geared it towards the idea of not just having a P3 that would limit us to what we can do if our caseloads get
We
higher.
just have crazy
And we did
swings in
K-12.
class size.
Mhm.
Like, we'll have 85 and then we'll have 132.
You can look for a P3 that has a 4 or 5 validation as well, and that's helpful. A lot of times they do that after they've gotten into a position, or if they're having trouble finding it. It's additional coursework that they have to do.
And do we, I know there's been pushback on moving from 7th and 8th to 9th. Is that is that something when we hire, we should be talking about the fluidity of our needs based on class sizes? That this could be an expectation when we hire, and do it with our new teachers coming in, but really set an expectation like we need flexibility, or what is that?
Well, and Kevin and I have talked about this with filling his position, potentially filling mine, that next certification level is 4 through 9.
Right,
So if I have a freshman, a 9th grade schedule that's strictly 9th grade, then I can utilize somebody with that 4 through 9. Although a lot of those people are, they're signed up, they kind of signed up to be middle school teachers, and the ninth grade just comes along with it, but, we're kind
some
of.
9th grades are middle school,
What's that?
some schools.
Grades are middle school.
Bigger school.
I know we're not.
Part of the problem is we don't have a lot of teachers in the high school.
Yeah.
Our departments are really small, so we don't typically have a 9th grade math position.
Yeah.
They teach 9th grade, but they're
They're
also
also
teaching
teaching
a
10th,
section
yeah.
of geometry, a section of calculus.
And if they're
So
4-9,
it's
they
hard
can
to, English was the only way that it could potentially work if they didn't have any other electives.
Right.
Well-
But most of the other certifications are, it's not typical that it would work.
Yeah, and this is where our flexibility has to come in, though, we will have to look at our, talk about, I don't have people with the positions we have open and we posted, we don't have people knocking on doors, it's part of the fewest amount of applications I've ever got with the most amount of positions.
Well, I think in elementary, you've got that pre-K, or the preschool, that new rules where everybody's having to double up, right? So that's gotta be a big strain on that grade. I mean, you've got all these schools saying now we need 2.
Oh, wow, I see what you're
So
saying.
some of our
That's
P3.
fine.
So
added one in
the
preschool.
pool just went,
Yeah.
because you've got, the job pool doubled in the pre-K, right?
Overnight.
With the vote, so.
And the truth of the matter is, like every occupation right now, we make sure educators.
There are a lot of people leaving, not leaving the industry completely.
A lot of people not paid into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, do we only have 3 new open enrollments outside of kindergarten?
No.
No, we've had others that have come in.
Because on this report, the way I'm reading it, it says 3 of them have new next to their,
Well, she just does that, I think she just identifies those as they go through.
You're still approving all of them though, right?
Yeah, so,
I see what you're asking, the other kids are already students here?
Here,
yeah,
Yeah, yes.
they are, right?
everybody else is, unless
So
it
those-
says new, everybody else is
All
retired.
right. so
Well,
that's
you
my
would
question.
count kindergarten.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, outside of kindergarten, we got
Yeah.
3 net new, okay.
Which is normally where it's all at.
Is that typical? I thought it was higher than that.
With kindergarten?
No, outside of kindergarten, net new, how many new open enrollments do we get a year?
Well, we've gone, since I've been here, when I walked in the door, I think we were at 143 or 150, so we've had total, so we've had anywhere from 10 to 15 every year, and some years we've had more, some years we've had less, but as an average, since I've been here, that's about the neighborhood. So,
You almost might, when we look, we just had a listing that was approved last month. This has 59 on it. That other one had 100 and, almost 130, 194 in total.
Right.
Between last month's.
That's the most we've ever had.
Correct.
no, this year's the most we've
No,
done.
this year I had-
But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
there may have been a bunch of new on there, I don't know, I can't remember.
I don't.
There's almost, I said,
Close to 200 total.
More than
right?
double.
See open enrollment.
people that we approved
For
last
this
month.
year, yes.
Yeah. Oh, so this is just.
this is just the new ones.
We had a big list last month too.
Oh, okay.
Up to 194.
This is just
It's
people
not
who got their
indicated.
paperwork back in.
On last month's, it's not indicated whether they're new or not. There's nothing that's telling you.
Need a motion yet to approve this?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
Number 3, the board approved that partnership with the University of Finley for College Credit Plus. And all those things were basically.
It doesn't matter if you approve it or not, we have to pay the bill. So, I'd still a
Motion
motion.
to approve.
So,
Second?
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
yes. It's like it's,
Okay. Board approved number 4, class of 2022 list of students. I don't think that's abstained, it's not hiring.
I'm not hiring anybody.
I went back and looked, because I
I
knew
did.
this was gonna come up. You did not abstain.
I did abstain? I remember when Kim's on, Kim abstained, so I felt, I don't know.
I looked back at 2019 and you did not abstain. I knew this was gonna come up.
Well, look at you, so, yeah, I thought I abstained.
Nope.
Motion to approve.
I'll just say, I heard these boys have been one of the best behaved classes in the history of the school
Oh my God.
until yesterday. And they were,
Gee,
they owned it.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
yes.
Mrs. Robson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
Number 5, the board to approve the Neola policies that were sent out.
Motion.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
And Mr. Trainer.
Yes.
Number 6, do we need to continue to discuss that, or are we?
So Dodge is gonna get us information from other districts, that you kind of compare, like links, policies.
One,
and stuff like that.
one question, or one thing I'd like to bring up is, what kind of timeline are we looking for on that? As in like,
We pass it, we have a window to get caught up.
that's my concern, is I know there are some people who owe more fees and they don't want to put the burden, you know, they have multiple kids and they have
I think we could do just my thought was we do the payment plans like we do today, but if you stop making your payment plans, then it would.
That, yeah, that.
And this would be, if we do approve this, this would be in effect for the next fiscal year,
I don't think that's gonna be possible starting in August.
if we approve this in June.
I think that you're underestimating the number of people who aren't able to, if we can do it and there's like a set,
I mean, we have a payment program, right? So
Right,
the
and then-
payment program or,
yeah, and then the ease and the information in which it gets out to people. I agree that it needs to be done, I'm not saying that, I'm also looking out for the people who are already having trouble paying some of these
well,
fees.
if you're saying that we can't get this in place for fall, then why not hammer this out now?
That's what I'm suggesting, if
we
there's a
get the
payment plan
information out.
option and the people are, and how are we gonna, what is that, how does that payment plan look? Are we basing it off of okay, you have 6 months to pay this, you have 3 months to pay this?
I'm not looking to change the payment plan, I don't know what it is.
I don't know what the
today.
payment plan is, that's
How
why
do
I'm
you
asking.
work out
There is a
plans?
payment plan, that's in our policy. You have, I can't remember, you have to pay a minimum, and you have so many months. I don't know it off the top of my head.
And so then if a student chooses to, do we add to that, like if they choose to play that second sport, do we add the $50 or $100? Like, these are questions I'm asking because I want to know before I vote on anything like this.
Well, I think it would be a policy, so we're building a
Yeah.
policy.
Yeah,
So-
and I agree, I think it needs to be
I think we have the flexibility
done.
to make
Yeah,
the payment plan make sense. So I think a couple things I'd love to know is like, what's the largest amount owed by a student?
that's kind of where
Or
I'm going with
family,
that.
it's probably family.
And I know family, I know that there's been, I know that there's multiple seniors over 1,000. I think there's either one or two over $2,000 outstanding.
Well, the ones that have, those ones that are at that point though are ones who the kids are in CCP and have failed CCP classes.
So
When
they
they
hold their
fail,
money
It's a
back.
fee.
when they fail CCP classes, they have to pay that
Yeah.
amount. So,
But did you know they'll let them take another class?
Yes, I guess.
But they still keep taking classes.
and that's, yes, but that's not us allowing that, that is
Right.
Toledo, BG,
Right.
whomever else that allows
Yeah.
them, so. We're kind of hamstrung.
Definitely something to discuss. I think we need to get
So
some.
the majority though would not be in that vote.
Correct,
So
no,
so
correct.
take the CCP out and just, like I like to know the most
Yeah.
people owe without college credit loss.
Anybody saw when I went through, well, I just went through the seniors, but seniors, there were a couple seniors that were $700-800. That didn't include,
That was just
that was just
school
the
fees.
accumulation of K to 12.
Okay,
And this is why I think that we need to be a little bit more proactive when it comes to this, so we're not having this amount of money owed to the.
which is why I think it's a good policy to have, I'm
Yeah, I
not
think so,
disputing the
too.
policy at all.
So
I just
in
wanna
my-
make
In my
sure-
mind, like a maximum of like $50 a month.
A maximum?
That on payment, I think is reason. When you go higher than $50 a month, it's gonna be very difficult for people. You just lose participation from those kids that have high bills. But what it'll stop is people from ever getting high bills once you've got it created. I think.
Yeah, I think this will be,
They'll be
you know,
paying now.
there'll be some pain up front, but once this is in motion, I mean, this is acceptable practice. I mean, you
Yes.
have to pay your fees to
Correct.
participate. I mean, this is not,
I have a question for you though. Let's say I have a kindergartner, I don't pay anything until I get into sports in 7th grade, I could have potentially $700. You're still gonna have this issue of, I guess my question is, what do you mean by K-6 activity on this agenda?
Would you include field trip?
I didn't add that, I don't know what that means, K through 6.
But I mean, field trips would be the only thing I can think of. that
We have
would be-
robotics.
Robotics.
But still should be included because it could potentially affect. Well, that.
Well, I'm just
actually-
saying, you're still gonna, I mean, you're not gonna get away from, so if your policy, you gotta take that into consideration.
You're not gonna really
This
have,
is not
you're
gonna
not
go
gonna,
away.
you're not gonna have a hammer
This is
until
not gonna go away.
seventh
You're
grade.
you're thinking it's gonna go away?
No,
or
no,
you
no.
get-
No,
I have no illusion about this
Yeah, it's not.
solving the problem, it's gonna
Could
help the problem.
potentially
Yeah.
have this continue. That's all.
I mean, everybody struggles with accounts receivable. and pass debt, full debt.
Yeah, I mean,
It's an
I
issue.
didn't, I mean, I was a big advocate of no fees. I've always been an advocate of no fees, but that's not where our district
I don't
is.
disagree.
That's not where our voters are, not even close, so the district, the voter wants them. I think we need to collect. I mean,
Right.
it's our, you know, we
They
should,
said that loud and clear, they
that
don't
was
fees.
loud and clear.
We're gonna figure out a way to collect them.
Yeah.
Well, and just for the general information, we are, you know, in conversation with Bill, we are collecting, by the time they graduate, we are collecting 90% of that, 90% of that money. So it's not like we're, unless somebody leaves the district and, you know.
I just think we need to be a better job communicating with our parents if they are struggling, that we are open to.
There's options.
There's options, and that way,
We put that out there.
I know, but I just
Yeah.
feel like maybe we
It's
should
in every
reiterate
letter,
it a little bit
every
more.
letter that we've ever sent out.
I just think we're doing, there's some disconnect that we have so many thousands of dollars out at their senior year, like what's going on that we're not, you know?
Okay.
People
We don't
spend-
have anything to hold them.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I think the idea that Don's brought up is, that's, I mean, when you think about it, you look at the paid participate
It's really
fees,
the only,
those are paid because people want to.
it's the only option we have, it's the only.
It is.
option we really have.
And it's not just sports, it's any curriculum, right? Like it's any extra.
I mean, at
field
UT,
trips.
you don't register for the next semester, your account's put on hold.
Yeah.
You don't graduate unless your fees are paid. I know
Once
we
upon a
can't
time,
do
it
that.
was you didn't get your grade card unless you paid your
Right.
fees, but that's not.
You can't do that,
Can't do
there's,
that.
there's a lot of things we can't,
I-
like you get to graduate, you don't get to walk.
I understand that.
Can I make a suggestion? Yeah, since when you guys start to build this policy, I strongly encourage you not to add field trips as a repercussion, because a lot of those are part of the educational process. It's not an extra, it's not an activity.
Yeah.
Some of them are, field days and things like that, but, I think you'd have a lot of,
Well,
Teachers
and
upset.
there's a social stigmatism too, if you're the kid sitting in the
Correct.
classroom.
Yeah, I
I
can't.
have no
it's
interest.
just a real bad look for a multitude of ways,
Yeah.
so. I
Agreed.
know it's hard, Kay, to make something stick, but I wouldn't make it stick there. Just,
No, I'm,
That's why I would, I mean, if we can hammer out the details, we're all in agreement, I'd like to see us do this, and then also maybe couple that with the second sport being $50 instead of $100. I think this fits altogether.
yeah, there's some multi-families, multi-children families that are tight, they're getting into heat.
I know-
Is there a family max? What's the family
I'm
max?
sorry, not family max, just
For
Child.
student max, yeah.
I know I had 4 kids playing sports at one point, and I was furious paying these fees. I mean, and then getting hit with the second and the third, and then I was told, well, if I'm a coach, I don't have to pay the fee, and then I always got charged anyway, and I have to go back and argue for that. You get feed debt.
Fourth grade girls basketball.
Okay, I'll get with Bill and do some more.
So we do have a current policy on like payment plans and so forth, so we can look at that and see what we need to adjust.
I'll include payment plan, what other schools are doing, some stats, and what school field trips.
All right, so the next three things are like my discussions. Sorry, Mike, can I go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I have had plenty of questions since a lot of parents, reserve halls for graduation parties. Do we have a set date for 2023 graduation? Can we get that like soon? Okay.
For when, 2023?
Yeah. We usually have,
We're worried about that date already?
yeah.
What's the last day seniors are in school?
right now,
Yeah, because like this year,
Friday.
they're done Friday,
On Friday.
we could have graduated, could we have graduated?
No.
well, I
Oh,
mean,
no.
no.
You mean you're talking about this weekend, you mean?
Yeah.
No, we don't have panic grades yet,
Okay,
and we
yeah,
don't
I
have
was,
senior grades calculated.
we were just wondering, like,
Yeah.
we're done.
So what's the time frame? A week after the last day?
Well, we could have it the following weekend, but the
the-
reason we don't is because historically, we got beef about having it on Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, which,
So,
I mean, it's mean that weekend, so
yeah, I know, it's, but,
anything past that is too late.
yeah, so we
does make
The only
sense.
option there is to move it to the next weekend, which is where it is this year. And, I mean,
What's the staff's thoughts on graduation, Memorial Day weekend, or versus this year?
You
I have a graduating senior next year, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, when did that start to become an issue, because I graduated on Memorial Day weekend.
Well, we just changed it as of recent because we had a lot of
Years.
feedback.
Well,
Senior advisor.
22 years ago.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Ricky graduated in 2012, and he also graduated in.
It was always Memorial Day.
My wife
weekend.
graduated in '88, it was that weekend, so.
It was always that weekend until
Would we be
2
open
years ago. We had a
to,
lot of staff that
COVID?
doesn't come.
yeah,
Allegedly.
I mean, yeah, I'm just,
but I mean, there was just a lot of feedback that we.
it
that
just
we
feels
received.
really late this year.
It does.
That was,
feel like-
that was a Ben, suggestion, didn't, talk to the class advisors about that. I would say the earlier the better, I mean, I'm not even opposed as a high school teacher to say, and we haven't even talked about this, let them out even earlier. I mean, there are some schools that their seniors are already done. Done.
Last week.
Oh, yeah, I
There-
had some employees who.
well, it depends when they started it too. I mean, if they started, a lot of schools start a week before us, which then, yeah, okay, they can be done a week sooner.
Yeah.
But we still have some hours that they have to meet. We can't, you know, we gotta be careful about that too.
Yeah.
So,
We tried it away from the Memorial Day weekend because of some of the feedback, specifically because it was Sunday, so it's like right in the middle of the weekend. The thought was like, well, what if we do it a Friday night or a Saturday, so people can still travel or have their parties? I think it was the Sunday was the holdup from some of the feedback that we had heard.
And I kind of want to connect it to the homecoming, because the people
Yeah, but
will be in town.
yeah, if you don't, but here's what you still have conflict with, and I always had to have my graduations on Sunday, because, we had to move to Sundays because of state tournaments.
Right.
There's usually track kids that we were
Correct.
waiting to get back. I wasn't gonna have graduation without, I wasn't gonna say tough luck, you
Right.
qualify for state, you
Yeah.
can't go through graduation.
Right,
So every one of those weekends leading up now, as tournaments are in play,
yep,
is
no, I
an
agree.
essential conflict.
As a board member, I don't care. Tell me what Sunday you wanna have it on. That's I don't care.
I just need to communicate that, and if you can, just, you know.
We got.
Does it always have to be a Sunday night?
No, we're gonna
Sunday-
take it.
Sunday-
Sunday, Sunday afternoon, we're back to Sunday, we're back to
Sunday
afternoons,
afternoon.
so.
And we did it inside to save money, because you have to double set up, so that's why we did it inside this year. That's not very popular, we know that. A lot of senior moms, probably know that.
It was a lot of money.
So we're June 5th at 2 o'clock, correct?
Yes. So if you all wanna move it back earlier,
I definitely
We're all good.
would not like to do it in June again.
I would say keep it in May.
It creates a lot of problems of trying to get kids back for practice, the band, there's a lot of, everybody's gone.
Yeah,
So
they check it out.
that's why we
Start
would have
jobs.
advocated to not have it on the date.
yeah,
So
I don't-
definitely sometime in May for sure. I'm not opposed to keeping it Memorial Day weekend. We just wanted to try to do it earlier. But again, like Mr. Ferguson said, that creates some issues with grades and kind of things like that. Kind of have to be early.
So if you do Memorial Day weekend, why not do it on a Saturday so that people still have Sunday?
Because of
Monday?
Track.
Track or
sport tournaments.
potentially
Mhm.
baseball, softball.
Baseball Final Four,
Makes
softball
sense.
Final
Okay.
Four, track finals,
Yeah, so it's gotta be Sunday.
Sunday.
I'm really into it. I don't care.
Because our last day is.
It's like it's scheduled.
The 25th of May. So what if we considered like next year, like the 21st, like that Sunday? Would grades be in by then?
I was
The last day is
What would
June
be the
What,
senior?
what day of the week is the last day of school?
Our last day is on a Thursday.
So the kids would be done Monday, the seniors would be done Monday of that week.
And do you guys
Unless
get
that's
your
more,
grades
unless
in
that's
that?
Memorial Day weekend.
The Memorial Day weekend is the 29th, so the weekend after, and you guys are out.
Just, yeah, I'm visually able to see that calendar.
So we could do, next day is the 25th. If we stopped the seniors the week before, which again, as Ms. Ferguson said, might be an issue with their hours completed. We could do it the 21st. But technically, the seniors will not be done until the 19th. And I don't even know about, actually the 22nd, and I don't know about Penn, when they would finish as well. So that's the other issue too, is Penn, when they're done. So,
And I'm looking at like a Carver's graduating this weekend, so, you know, and maybe not they have kids that go to that too.
I have to,
Well,
Well,
kind of just graduated.
yeah.
Right, today, tomorrow.
So I mean, I don't know if,
Well, the question too becomes, do you care? I mean, here's the other thing, do you care whether or not everybody walks whether or not they've actually graduated or paid their fees?
that's true.
I mean, that's, if
We
you wanna,
have
if you wanna say, if you wanna have it
yeah.
whenever, we can have it whenever, but we lose that hammer for collecting fees. And we don't know if everybody
Kids are gonna take
has
it.
really completed and passed all their coursework. So that's, you know.
I would, my recommendation is we just keep it, we move it back to Memorial Day weekend, and the reason I'm gonna say that is because when you put your kid in school, you know they're graduating in this year, and you know that may not be the year you're going to blink from Memorial Day. I have 4 kids, 3 that are gonna graduate within 2 years, and I am aware that that is gonna be a thing, and I've accepted that. So I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, I'm
Yeah.
just
No,
saying, like,
I understand that, would we be opposed to even like
We'll never see.
asking, you know, our parents for feedback on that and kind of get,
I,
I mean, I hate that, but I know I hate to open up the can of worms, but I would honestly like to see where everybody stands, you know, the majority does stand.
so when you turn something like that into, you,
It's
because
like
then
asking
you're gonna
for
get this
a
group and this group and
Right,
this
I
group and this group.
understand that,
And
but
this
I
group,
mean,
yeah,
you
and the only
want-
reason they didn't vote for this is because I am who I am there, I mean, that is just,
Pick a date and go with it.
that is executive
I
decision.
think, yeah, I think I think we keep it in the school.
And you know that this is the weekend every year, and if
The
that.
people that have to be there every year
will be
are the
there.
board and the staff.
I mean, for 40 years, you knew
Board
what
and the
day it
staff.
was.
That's
Now,
my
all of a
point.
sudden, since 2019, you don't know, so
That's my
people
point,
are asking
I'm just
questions.
saying,
Yeah.
it is
Have-
one Sunday of your Memorial Day out of your life, or 2 or 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we complicating what could be incredibly simple?
Okay.
That's,
Plus it is always Memorial Day weekend, everybody knows what it
It's
is.
pretty easy to know,
Right.
hey, it's
and a
Memorial Day
lot of
weekend on
schools
Sunday
graduate
at 2
then,
o'clock.
a lot of schools do, so it's not like it's not.
Yeah, there's a lot of graduations.
Some schools will choose to have their seniors leave earlier than the rest of the students, and that really is the only other possibility, depending on their hours or whatnot, but beyond that, Memorial Day is typically when we would have everything complete.
And my question to that would be, do we want to be working on graduation an entire week before everybody else gets out of school, including the staff?
There's
I
really
mean,
only a handful of us that do, the senior advisors and.
But I mean, I'm asking in general because I don't know, I'm
Sure,
not there. Is
yeah.
that like a feasible thing that you want on your plate?
We could.
You know, I mean, like, that's why I'm asking, like, if, you know,
Yeah,
if it's,
it wouldn't make a difference, we're working on it regardless. I've been working on graduation stuff for the last 2 weeks.
yeah,
And that's not till June, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's making sure that the kids are present so we can get our hands on them for practice is really the only care I have about the date, so.
So since we're just open to discussion, can we figure out a good time frame? I think that, are we in general consensus that, okay, go move it back to Memorial Day on Sunday?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, the 28th of May, 2023. Let's make sure that actually is Memorial Day though, because sometimes.
Well, Memorial Day is the 29th.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there was one weekend where it was off. It was late, it was like a 5-day or a 5-week May.
This is a 5-week. May.
Or, I don't remember what it was.
This is a 5-Monday May, and it
Yeah.
falls on the 29th.
Okay.
And can we communicate that as soon as possible to your next class,
So people know.
so people know? Okay.
And it's inside.
Don't
They're
change
my
it again
calendar.
from that weekend.
I'm senior advisor.
It's inside.
Noted.
I wait for years.
Shaves money.
The senior moms here say noted.
What's that?
So we're senior moms next year. We say noted.
Okay, all right, moving right along. Okay, so, our business honor roll I was just wondering when we should, if you guys had a preference on when to have them come, if they're able to step away from their places of employment to be honored at our board meeting. I would like to do it probably in July, because I feel like July is our shorter meeting, we don't really have too much going on. I don't want to push out to August, but I think, I'm just looking at you.
Who would want to come to a board meeting in July?
Right?
The only thing you have in July, I have a special ed prequel
Okay.
to the board meeting, but you know, that doesn't.
I mean, nobody has to stay. I mean,
Yeah.
in all reality, they might not be able to make it, so I just want to kind of end that. So I was just gonna have Rhonda get some things together.
We have a cake again, I think we had a
Yeah.
cake last time.
July meeting, is it the 18th?
Okay.
Yeah,
So July meeting, I'll work on getting those invites out. And then just, real quick on student achievement update, we had a meeting, we're virtually in Columbus, I chose virtually. The only thing that was, I wanted to bring up to the board is our lobbyist, Nicole Piscatini. She wants feedback from districts regarding our sub shortage on the teacher side and bus side. So if you want me to go ahead and compile an email on behalf of the board to let her know our frustrations, that way she can take that.
I would just put in there, our budget causes us to pay less than districts around us, which exacerbates the problem for us higher than other districts.
Okay. Then I guess I'll kind of
Less
really.
than you get paid at McDonald's, why would you want to grab the school bus?
Okay. Only other thing, I have two more, I'm sorry. Tying into student achievement, I just wanted to make sure that we followed up since Mrs. Sprague brought it to our attention last month. For the Abbott County Family and Children First, I would like representation on behalf of Genoa School, since all the other Abbott County schools are participating in this. So I don't know if that's something that you might want to do, or delegate that to somebody that will be representative from our district.
I would be interested in taking that as a board member. I don't know if that helps you in any fashion.
I don't see any other board members on here, so I don't know if that.
Okay.
Let's,
That's fine, I'm
It
willing.
may not be inappropriate, if
yeah.
that's your concern. It might be fine, that
Yeah.
just they don't do it.
Yeah,
So honestly, the western end of this county, even Mr. Mayor Bergman, I know it's place full, maybe see if we can get some representation there just to, because reading and researching, I think it would be beneficial for us to partake in that. And then Wellness Committee did meet on May 2nd. I just wanted to kind of get that, we kind of went out of order, so.
I missed it.
We did talk about teacher mental health and student mental health amongst other things. Wellness Committee is a whole committee of lots of different things, and there's some things I need to go over with Mike to moving forward, but we're waiting to get some feedback from the elementary since that was the night of the showcase. So we're with Lisa Cruikshank on that, and I think moving forward, that committee is going to be doing a lot more things for our staff and students, so really excited about that. That's it, sorry.
I do have an update. I met with a representative, DJ, last week. He has set up a meeting with Aaron Roush, the director of Ohio Department of Education, on the 25th. Bill, are you going to be able to go?
I was gonna tell you that, yes, I would like to go.
Excellent. So our treasurer and I will get to sit down with them. The feedback Mr. Roush gave Mr. Swearingen was that the district's per pupil spending is extremely low, so it doesn't, so his evaluation is we don't have a spending problem. What's that?
I said I wish some of the public would hear that.
Yeah.
They are, they're watching it online. Something like that.
So, it's, long story short, I think Director Roush is clearly in tune with what our issue is. DJ believes if we can get him to speak to that issue to his peers in the House, that we may be able to do something particular to this district to drive additional funds for the state. And he used the example that Oak Harbor, when they de-evaluated Davis-Besse, got a special arrangement so that they would not lose funds till, I think they have until 2026. But that went through the House, went through the Senate, got passed, and it's like an earmark for that one district. We're going to work to do that same thing for us. So the crazy news is DJ is not going to be our representative under the new maps that'll be out next. So we will be lumped in with Toledo and Lucas County. I don't know if y'all know that. So our representative will now be the same representative for the city of Toledo. So that's not great for us. It's gonna be difficult to be seen, I think. So I think we need to swing the bat really hard right now while he is our representative, and see what we can make with it. But the other thing that we're gonna do, I'm giving the levy committee a break, but I'm gonna pull in some folks, some volunteers, and we're gonna pull the bottom 100 districts in funding, which we will still remain in after the levy passes. We still will be in the bottom 100 districts in the state. We'll move up from 45 to probably 70, 60, so better. We're going to identify the representative and the board for each of those districts, create a spreadsheet with email contacts, phone number contacts, and then we're going to ask them to join a call to discuss our situation. We believe, just eyeballing it, that at least 80% of those districts will be Republican districts, represented districts, which then we can take that group, our voice gets a lot louder. And the reason I care about it's not, I don't care what party anybody's in, it's that party controls the House and Senate right now and governorship. So they're the ones who are going to control whether we fix the problem or not. So that's where we're at. We'll know more after the 25th. And we'll go from there.
I'm just curious what they're gonna do, because they'll be going into summer session, and what they're saying is a lot of them will probably back to the general election.
What he's looking at next year's budget is what he's trying to get this on. He does.
I have a couple of quick questions, real quick. Reviews, we're all doing reviews, right? Everyone's getting a review for the year, evaluations.
Yes, looks like it.
And that should be 100% compliance, I would think. Right, we have contracts with these employees and you review. And then, do we need the broadcast anymore? I know that at the workshop, Woodmore said they stopped doing that, other districts are stopping doing that, pandemic's over. Do we need to broadcast these board meetings?
There's no requirement to, that it's really an individual decision for us to broadcast or not broadcast. So, I think when we started broadcasting, it was, I think Ron, who was our president when it started? No, I was president when it started. It was just we said we're broadcasting, but we were also going full Zoom at that time. Is when we first started broadcasting. So we're out. I don't know that we need to continue, but that's.
Meetings are open, you probably don't.
Yeah, I agree. No, that'd be mine from Mr. Baker's time too.
Yeah. And then, I know we were talking about naming rights, I don't know if that's a discussion that's coming up.
Yeah, we have to go through, I think what I sent you with the name rights for the stadium, Genoa, we've had a conversation with Genoa Bank and we exchanged proposals. So they sent us a proposal a couple weeks ago. I had a conversation with Marty about some of what they were asking for. We have to kind of narrow it down still, but part of that is, most of that revolves around the signage and what they're asking for there. They realize that not all those pieces and parts are gonna, are gonna be, come through in the final proposal. So Matt and I need to meet with Stacy and McDaniels and whoever else that they decide where the signage would go, and we have to have further conversation
You're gonna
about.
tighten that up and bring that here then?
Yes, it'll come back, we
Very good.
should have it all squared away by the next board meeting, so.
Yeah, I know one concern was, if they wanted field paint.
Sign on, that was
On the
one of their
like grass?
ideas.
Like painting the grass.
Yeah.
I would push back on that simply because we don't pay to have that done, that's all volunteer work, and I don't wanna.
Well, and they understand that there was a lot of, number of the proposals for, especially for the signage were things that they were just gonna see, throwing everything at the wall,
Yeah.
see what would
Yeah,
stick.
that was just one that
Yes,
I would
it's-
push back on because we don't, like, literally, we buy pizza for the guys who do the painting, and I don't, like, less is more, with
But they're
that.
like hours on it anyways.
You have a hard time getting
Yeah,
that.
they're just not employees,
That too.
yeah, they're just not employees, so.
Okay. And then, I don't know, for the athletic committee, are they looking at recognizing the complex donors and, tightening that up, that whole situation?
I think regarding athletic committee, I'm gonna wait till the, year finals out and then do it with Matt. Usually we meet again in August, but I'll see if we can get in touch.
And just tighten up.
Yep.
What's going on there, yep. Very good.
Other than that, I just, one more thing to add, thank you to our voters. Thank you.
Oh, on the FFA, I know there was a concern about population in the course load. And we reached out, we passed the levy, so can we reach out to Penna and see if we can get additional support so that we can handle the course load?
I've had a conversation with Dave Stacklin, already in terms of what's going on. I think it's too late for next year, but, as far as finding somebody at this point in this juncture in time. And we gotta look at those final numbers to see what they are.
Well, I know we're over,
Yeah, we're like
when we had
one-
2 teachers, we had less students than we have with 1 now.
We have to put some pressure on Penna to see, and Dave sees the number, he intends, he's part of this program, like, we need to apply some pressure on him, because Ms. Shane has been asking for this, and we need to do better, because we have kids, we can't make choices and say you can't be in.
Now we're gonna have less periods, how does that impact?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll impact some of those numbers as well. But that's, we're looking at the greater good here in making those decisions, so, but I understand what you're saying. If we add another teacher right now, we are way overstaffed. If we add another teacher with the numbers we have right now, we're way overstaffed.
Yeah, couldn't
We have to project that we are going to, this is what we can add, this is
So
what
2
we can bring
teachers
more
would be
people.
overstaffed, but is it, so who has FFA around us? Oak Harbor?
Whereas Leslie has really had 2 staff. I'm not saying that they have it right or wrong.
No, I'm just,
Sure.
is it possible to split staff, so half day?
Conversation.
That seems like a really good solution for,
I think Woodmore only has 1 teacher, but I don't think they have.
I don't think they have the population.
I think we need to make a move, because this is something that's been leading up to this, I know this has been brought to this board, and we've had it in discussions, I don't know if FFA alumni has talked about it too. I just, that program has grown so much, we don't want to exclude any students by any means, but I also don't want to make Machine be burned out that she moves along and goes somewhere else either. So we want to retain our staff, but yet we don't want to help them. So we need to make sure that we move forward with this.
I'll say there's so many different contests and opportunities and each kid's interested in something different.
Right.
And she does them all. She's there
Well,
every night and she does them all. So it's like
She
a-
probably has to say no to some things and
She
limit.
does not. And
I know she does.
That's her,
Okay.
I get it, but she's not gonna tell them
You-
no because
But you're one person,
she's one.
right, you have, she has, she'll have to say no,
I'm
Yeah.
working on that too,
you
to some
can't
degree.
do everything.
When we go to convention, we didn't skip any sessions because every session except for the opening session, we had someone walking across the stage. Both days, every single session.
I think just showing, unfortunately, the coursework that we offer, we don't offer AP, we're trying to, educate and empower every student. with their strengths, and FFA encompasses so many different things besides
It fills a lot of social
farming,
gaps.
right.
It's,
business,
We have such a
finance,
good
I mean,
program.
yeah.
We've always had such a good.
You know, when you say that and I look at it and it says explore their path, you get to explore, do you wanna be a welder, do you wanna be a pipe fitter, do you wanna be a boilermaker, like, what do you wanna do? There's so many opportunities here that you get
Yeah.
to explore, and a lot of the kids are coming out of there this senior year saying, I wanna do something that I never thought I was gonna do because I took this. I've heard them say it to me personally.
I'll just add, since I was here when we had 2 staff members and fewer kids, one FFA teacher, kind of focused more on the competition side, and one was more of the teacher aspect, so while the course load, kids weren't, you might have had a lot of sections of things with fewer numbers in each class, there was more of an emphasis for one teacher to focus on one thing versus the other. So that's just another thought,
Yeah.
that those competitions could be the focus of.
I've heard our numbers are higher though than Oak Harbor's.
They're high.
And they've got 2, like Penn is providing it, they've got 2, we have 1, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and I think you, and this is something I've had conversations with Marie about, and not Tricia. The kids that take her classes are required to join FFA, and we've had kids have to quit classes because they couldn't make the meetings. I have a problem with that. We shouldn't be turning anybody away because this is the requirement to join FFA. And so, you know, that's something that has been brought to my attention when I wasn't aware of, that was the requirement. So, you know, how many of those kids that we have are vested, fully vested, or just, you know, that would be, you know, something we have to look at too. I think
It's pretty normal though, isn't it? With ag classes?
Yeah, that's all I've ever known.
Yeah, I don't know, when we have kids that can't take classes because they don't have the time to take part in that, that's what I have an issue, no kid should be turned away for that, and there's no requirement there, it's.
Yeah, but that wouldn't alleviate the course load.
What's that?
That might increase the course load, not alleviate the course load. So if you don't have to go to the FFA meeting after school, you're just increasing more kids that would take the courses in it.
Right, which would in turn then justify, you know, you have more of those kids that are participating, they find out they don't have to be part of that, but they still want to take the class, get benefit of the class, then.
I think the meetings are very highly suggested, but I don't know that I've ever seen every kid at every meeting, because between sports, which we all know that sports don't give up anything for anybody else, band doesn't either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're just gonna be honest, I've been to meetings, we probably have 70 to 80 kids at a meeting, which that's half of them, I don't know how you could do too many more, to be honest, at once. But I don't know that that's. I mean,
That
I
is
think
required.
that it was required, I mean,
well, I feel like that's maybe a discussion that we need to have and figure it out and move forward, and then, but short term, we need to figure out what we're gonna do with this FFA program. It's a good problem to have, but kind of need to recognize that and help us out.
Which they're willing to do, I mean, they're willing to do.
I think we have a good opportunity to push down to, you know, I think that they would love to get people, 8th graders
I think
involved.
that's how we grew to begin with. She had an 8th grade exploratory class that all joined and said, this looks really cool. And that's how we,
I had one of my kids, she is not a typical FFA kind of girl, and she was a great welder randomly in 8th grade. And I said, okay, I'll do
But
this.
that's great, like, because,
It is.
right, I mean, who knows, like, maybe Liv won't wanna go to a 4-year college, but she'll wanna go to a technical and do welding.
And she is involved in 3 sports and choir, and she was able to earn her points. So there's enough opportunity, I think, with the points that they're able to manage it.
Well, I think we're.
School, I got extra credit too, like I got like extra credit for being an FFA. Like it was the same as being in an advanced course in
Yeah.
my high school.
But I mean,
Because
I'm
of the
sure
extra
there's
work.
ways to restructure that to make it more conducive. If she could get help, I'm sure she would restructure to make it fit more what Mr. Ferguson might be.
There are definitely obstacles, you know, there are things that are, because, you know, levy's so late, there are things that already occurred in
Yeah.
high school and
Right.
middle school that, you know, there would be quite a bit of obstacles to get something
We
right.
lost new hire teachers because the levy was, because it took so long to pass, it's like we alumni that possibly could have come, that were, no fault of anybody's, just that's the financial.
And the crazy thing is, like, I graduated from Lincoln, and that FFA wasn't the same. I mean, that's just one district over, and it is just huge here. Like, it is amazing.
That's what I was thinking.
Speaks volume of the community also.
Well, especially from working from
Oh, yeah,
3 years ago.
amazing.
Right. I mean, it's important because our FFA program also gives back to our community. So, I mean, we are asking our voters to invest in our system, but we are also investing back in our community as well. So,
So we are going into executive, very brief, no action after. We'll be
sorry to put that.
We'll be going into executive to consider the employment of a public employee.
Motion adjourned.
Motion to go into executive.
Second.
Mr. DeMillio.
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Yes.
Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Mr. Travers.
Yes.
And Mr. Trainer.
Yes.